Curly, Sexy, Cool. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everybody. Hi, Ryan Lewis. It's Pratina. Hello. Hello. Yes, it's hoodie season for me. Absolutely. I have to have built-in head coverage for my little head here. Hey, everybody. Jack, it's been a while. Hi. Hi. So, I've been wanting to come on here the last few days just to hold some space for everything that's going on. I'm getting a lot of DMs and tweets and such from folks who are really getting rocked by these eclipses. Hey, Ryan. Robin. Not Ryan. I already said hi to Ryan. Hi, Robin. Hey, Five Fights. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of just commentary and testimony and just everything about how this eclipse season is beating booty, is slapping faces with an open palm. And these are one of those moments where I am incredibly cautious about new age terminology and the whole love is light, love and light, pure spiritual bypassing stuff that tries to paint, certain astrological configurations as opportunities to manifest and, oh, this eclipse season is gonna do all of these great things for you. And it's one of those moments where I really need to reiterate that it is a grave act of spiritual violence, disassociation, and just unkindness to ignore the reality of what is happening in Palestine and how it's correlating with what's going on in the sky right now. And, as someone who sees clients professionally, this is not cute. This is like, these are the moments that kind of, I don't know, just make obvious how foolish certain spiritual postures are. What we should be manifesting is solidarity for all oppressed peoples anywhere. What we should be focusing on is the reality of our current struggles, the reality of how painful and difficult our lives are. We should be focusing on the reality of the precarity of our material conditions and the real causes for that. The cause of your precarity is not Palestinians. That's not the cause of your precarity. Now, if you are in Israel and if your family was personally impacted, then that's a moment for you to hold your own government accountable. But that's not why I'm here to talk about that particular issue. I just really want to hold some space for the struggle that I see you going through, and to give you some language. I've been thinking a lot about what is the purpose of astrology in these moments. What does it offer us? What is its usefulness? I call my work and the astrological system that I've created Divination for Liberation. And lately, whenever it hits, I'll be like, ooh, yes, we're divining liberation, because that's what this is about. Like, divining liberation, to be able to foresee our own struggle, to be able to foresee the challenges that, you know, we are meeting at the hands of our oppressors, to have a systemic, consistent, and cohesive understanding of how we are meeting challenges of oppression. And I tweeted this today and I posted it to my story. And there was a clip of an anchor on BBC News in the UK basically running back on some misleading and misrepresentation with regard to in regard to some protests that basically was making it look like, you know, Palestinians were perpetrators of some kind of violence in the UK in these protests. And they were like, oops. And so many times since we've been in earnest in this eclipse season, we have watched people eat their words, meaning we have watched Biden have to run back what he said. We've seen journalists and newspapers say, oops, I have no proof for the vitriol. I have no proof for this story I'm spreading. Thank you, Nicole, for that bit of information. She called the protest pro Hamas, which is not the case here. And I have to be careful because these platforms are censoring a lot these days. They are erasing people's profiles and years of content. They are censoring post and reach for people who are speaking out against yeah, there was a glitch. My internet here is been acting really crazy lately. But all of that to say, you know, when we talk about mutable signs and we talk about sidereal Virgo, where the eclipse was this weekend, we're talking about the gift of discernment. We are talking about meticulousness. We are talking about, you know, I talk about Virgo keeping receipts, right? Because Virgo is, I know what I know because I got a receipt. I have hard evidence. I have some type of data or evidence that shows that what I'm perceiving is accurate, or the conclusion I've drawn is true. There's receipts, there's evidence. And the fill in the blanks for this particular eclipse that just passed, the solar eclipse full moon in Virgo, was eliminating mistrust. And there is a real way that institutions and leaders are having to contend with. Do I, as an institution or a leader, want to be someone who others can trust and believe? In what way does this moment threaten my ability to be perceived as someone trustworthy? What am I saying in this moment? And is it something that increases my credibility, or is it something that decreases my credibility? If you are not new here, you know that since we started some major mutable transits, spring 2022 with Jupiter in Pisces and a conjunction of Mars in Pisces with Jupiter, I was talking about discernment. And I said, look, guys, back in 2021, I was like, look, guys, in 2022, it's discernment. And I've been beating this drum. And I think this moment with this eclipse in Virgo, it's much more loud and present. And that makes sense, right? Because in the Divination for Liberation Wounds and Gifts framework, the wound of Virgo is being lied to directly, meaning just like we're seeing people literally lying, committing acts of lying. And the coping strategy, how do individual people who have sidereal Virgo, but even more so in this moment collectively, how do we cope with being overtly lied to? That's where we are right now collectively. And maybe even in your personal life, you have experienced this eclipse as discovering some truth, realizing that you've been lied to, and contending with elements of self-trust and self-doubt and being able to trust other people. So collectively though, in this moment, how do we cope with being overtly lied to? How does sidereal Virgo cope with being overtly lied to? The coping strategy for sidereal Virgo is being literal and black and white. Now, this is an important coping strategy. If someone is lying to you and you're seeing evidence that immediately and obviously contradicts it, you're like, okay, but 1 + 1 is 2. I do know about algebra, so like, here's the receipt, right? Or if someone says something to you, I'm gonna need some evidence to back that up, right? Now, taken too far, sidereal Virgo means that we can ignore any information, or we can ignore any conclusions that might that we might come to not in that black and white literal receipts kind of way, right? We can distrust our own intuition. And this is the other piece of what's going on right now that we're going to continue to see more and more of with these eclipses, is context. And this is another really sneaky way that we can see colonizers and empire and governments with, imperial and colonial interest. We can see them decontextualizing things. So if we decontextualize the attack of, Hamas against the people or against the state of Israel, if we decontextualize that, right, we can make it look like Hamas is just overreacting, or is just inherently violent, or is bad, or is wrong, right? When in fact there's more nuance there, right? That if we bring in context, we ask questions like, what are the conditions within which an organization like this thrives? What are the conditions within which a group of people are moved to act this way, right? Decontextualizing. I saw someone post it this way: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things happened. The third thing was the existence of Hamas and the bombing, right? The third thing was that. And if you just start at 3, of course you can make it look like, oh my God, this thing, right? And so this is something that's really, really important. And I think in terms of divination for liberation in the collective sense, it's really important for us to be aware of the tactics that are being used against us to sow confusion and to create self-doubt, right? And that's what this moment is about. The lies are meant to create self-doubt. The lies are meant to make it such that you cannot know anything for certain, right? That's another tactic that is being used against us. That's another tactic. Oh, this is so complex and there's so many factors and you can never know anything for certain. And so it's just better to withhold judgment. It's just better to not choose sides. Again, this is a tactic, right? The gift of mutable signs, Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces. And remember, this first eclipse is the first in the series of Pisces and Virgo, right? The gift is discernment, it's certainty, it's being able to know for sure, right? The question of all mutable signs is, how do I know what I know, right? Hey, Izzo, right? So in this moment, and let me just back up real quick because I want to say this. Earlier, I was talking about this question of what is the use of astrology in this moment? What does it have to offer us? Why? Why should we pay attention to astrology? What is it good for? And for me, there's two answers to that which are deeply interconnected. And this is my very personal take. It is the foundation of divination for liberation. And I'm certain that there are many other astrologers who have their opinion, but this is mine, and you heard it here from my mouth. And the purpose and usefulness of astrology is as a weapon of protection. The fact that I'm able to recognize and rightly read this moment is because of divination for liberation. I understand that we have just begun a new cycle and phase of eclipses in Virgo and Pisces. And I understand in divination for liberation, sidereal astrology, that eclipses are markers of major cultural shifts. I understand and know that whenever we are having eclipses in mutable signs, so that's going to be Gemini, Sagittarius, and Virgo and Pisces, I know that we are reorganizing our hierarchies of trust. We are, right, in terms of a major cultural shift, the culture is shifting its relationship with trust. Who do I trust? What do I trust them for? And when do I trust them, right? And when we're dealing with Virgo specifically, which is where the eclipse was this weekend, we are tempted to paint everything in black and white, right? And this is what is happening. And this is why divination for liberation astrology is such an incredible tool and also a weapon, not only in this moment, but in whatever liberation work that we are doing individually and collectively. That if I understand that this moment is challenging my discernment, it's challenging my capacity for self-trust, it is creating situations that engender self-doubt, not so that I can say, oh, this is too complex, I don't know, I can't, how do I know, right? Not to waffle around in this way of, if somebody doesn't explain it to me like I'm 5, then I'm never gonna know for sure what this means, right? That's not what this is about, but that's what's tempting. It's tempting in this moment to abandon our capacity to form judgments by relying on the limitations of our own existing body of knowledge. And so in these moments, we really need curiosity. We really need to ask questions. We need to understand, what is the tool that is going to help me draw an accurate conclusion in this moment? Do I need to believe everything that I see or read? No. Do I need to believe everything that I hear? No. Do I need to distrust everything I hear? No, you see these binaries? This is a moment that is challenging all of us to consider our relationship with trust and discernment, right? And our power in this moment is to not manifest something. It's ridiculous. Our power in this moment is to harness curiosity and to consider that there are multiple tools available to us, and that because of our personal experiences with trust, we may not be well equipped to reach for or even know how to use certain tools. So people might talk about media literacy and all of this stuff, and I think that's great. But I also think that we really need to understand the role of condescension and patronization in this culture, in Western culture, in patriarchal culture, and in capitalist culture, right? This idea that there is someone who always knows better than you, always, and that you should abandon your own perceptions, your own feelings, your own intellect, even your own beliefs, that you should abandon them so that you can rely upon the judgment of someone else. And you can very well see who has been patronized and condescended as a primary way to sow self-doubt. These are people who always say, oh, it's too complex. I can't know, it's just so much. People get that way because they're afraid to be wrong. And they're afraid to be wrong because they were never, ever met with curiosity. They were always met with an existing doctrine that told them what it is that they needed to know and how they should interpret what's happening, right? But this also happens in the other extreme with people who have incredibly rigid beliefs, and that there's no amount of information, there's no amount of insight that you can offer them that would allow them to see things as they really are. These are all protective mechanisms, and all of us are being confronted with our own protective mechanisms. So on a more personal level, let's think about it, right? Let's think about this on a personal level. In the midst of everything that's going on, what is your go-to? Is your go-to curiosity? Ooh, let me get some more information on that. Is your go-to, oh, this is just a little bit too complex for me to understand, and so I'm just going to withhold judgment and give, corny platitudes. Everybody deserves peace. Everybody deserves safety and running water. And it's like, yeah, that's actually not what we're debating about right now. That's not what this conversation is about, right? In theory, we agree on that. We agree that everybody deserves safety. In theory, what the conversation is about is why right now in this moment is one group's safety prioritized over another? And why do we hold one group to a higher standard than we do another group? That's the question. And those are complex, right? Now, on the other side, we have, zealotry. We have the zealotry of one, I don't believe nothing, everybody's lying. I don't trust none of these people, right? That's a form of zealotry. That's a form of self-protection that says, I meet everything with skepticism. I meet everything with suspicion. I believe nothing. And this is what we have to be really careful of in this moment. Believing nothing and believing everything. And I want to say this too, that it's when we are constantly bombarded with more information, more opinions, and more images than we can process. When we have been patronized and treated as if our own capacity to make sense of things is unreliable, when we have been treated as if we cannot trust our own eyes or judgment, we are stunted. Our discernment is stunted. And we become like children or babies who need everything spelled out for them, who have never been met with curiosity that teaches them how to meet their own self-doubt. So there's a question for you. In your life and upbringing, have you been met with curiosity that teaches you how to meet your own self-doubt? Or have you been treated as if someone else always knows better? That's for my Sidereal Gemini, right? Sidereal Gemini, somebody else always knows better, right? For Sidereal Gemini, every time you meet some information, immediate doubt, let me go get another source. Let me go ask somebody else, right? Anytime you form a judgment, Gemini, right? Anytime Sidereal Gemini forms a judgment and a bit of certainty creeps in, there's some voice or something that comes in and says, are you sure? You should probably go ask someone. You should get some more information, right? Right? So this is where we are. This is where divination for liberation really shines through. It's true. In moments of crisis, divination for liberation makes it really, really plain. Mutable sign eclipses say, how do you know what you know? And it's a major cultural shift around how do you know what you know. It is a major cultural shift around our hierarchies of trust. And this is reflected in our inner hierarchy of trust. In our inner hierarchy of trust, we have 4 inputs. And those 4 inputs are going to be taking things at face value by their material qualities that can be quantified or with material evidence. The other input is our inner knowing, our capacity to form judgments by connecting the dots and seeing what's implied by what is. Another input is our existing belief systems that we impose on whatever we encounter. It's a form of prejudgment or prejudice that says, I already know what this means because I already have an existing reference point or belief system that tells me what this means, right? And then of course, what did I forget? Sagittarius, Virgo, Pisces. Is it Gemini? Did I do them all? Gemini is going to be an input of existing bodies of knowledge. Yes, you are late, Queen Exodia, but that's okay. Existing body of knowledge. So what I'm talking about, hey Elizabeth, hey Exodia. So what I'm talking about in this moment is that we are in the midst of mutable eclipses. And eclipses are major cultural shifts. Eclipses and mutable signs are major cultural shifts around external and internal hierarchies of trust. External hierarchies of trust, if we go back to 2018, 19, and 20 with eclipses in Gemini and Sagittarius, this was the fake news and this was the undermining of journalism. It's the undermining of academic institutions, the external reorganization of hierarchies of trust and information. That's what eclipses are about. How do you know what you know? Who do you trust? And on a personal level, this is reorganizing our internal hierarchy of trust. And we have 4 inputs on our internal hierarchy of trust taking things at face value. They're materially quantifiable, evidential qualities, what can be measured. And then we have another input of our internal hierarchy of trust, which is our intuition, our capacity to connect the dots, to see what is implied, to deduce a conclusion based on what all of the information together might mean. Then we have an input of what we've been indoctrinated to know, our political and religious belief systems. And actually, as we get into 2024 with more eclipses in Virgo and Pisces, the belief system that we're going to be contending with is that of identity. And you know, one of my big phrases is identity is a belief system and it's being weaponized against you. And we're already seeing this happen so much, right? The way that you should react this way because you are blank. Or people say, well, as a insert identity, right? I can speak with authority on this matter, okay? And the final input of trust. Yes, shout out to Mike Milton 314. Is that from St. Louis? Absolutely abolish the police, especially the one that lives inside your head. Not just you, me, everybody. But yes, the final input of trust in our inner hierarchy of trust is existing bodies of information. So existing bodies of information can be books. It can be publicly held, common opinions. It can be what is learned in school or in a program. It's what you hear from other people, right? So you have these four inputs that we are reorganizing internally that is reflecting an external reorganization of trust. So the external reorganization of trust looks like religion, science, politics, and schools. Those are the four. Religion versus science versus, oh wait, I did this wrong. Religion versus science versus academic institutions, libraries, and what do I call the fourth one? Let's just call it, let's just call it the collective unconscious. Let's call it that. So this is how we need to be seeing and interpreting politics. Thank you, government. So let me just name them real quick. Thank y'all. So Gemini is schools and libraries, colleges, university. Virgo is science. Sagittarius is politics and religion. And Pisces is gonna be the collective unconscious, or yeah, I'm gonna leave that. Oh shit, too. But you know what? Pisces also be on that cult stuff. Just calling it like I see it. So this is the way we need to be interpreting what's happening now. We still have another eclipse in Aries. And this groupthink, that's a really good one. That's a really good one, Exodia. I like that. Thank you. Groupthink. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Okay, but let me just say a little bit more, because I'm not trying to throw shade at Pisces. I have a Pisces moon. I'm heavy on the Pisces. Let me explain why I say this. Because Pisces' coping strategy is to believe nothing. Pisces' coping strategy is being conspiratorial. Pisces' coping strategy is there's always something being withheld. And so I cannot trust that things are what they appear to be. I always have to make space for this room. I have to make room that there is something being withheld. And we saw this from the very beginning of the pandemic, right? That whole 5G thing, whew, right? But that is a coping strategy that we have because there are things being withheld from us on purpose. Yes, things are being withheld from us. So the key here is having the discernment to know which faculty to rely on at any given moment. And if we rely too heavy on that there's something being withheld, we're giving up our power to decide what things mean. I'm going to say that again for the saints in the back because some of y'all didn't hear me. When we lean too heavy on skepticism and suspicion that there is always something being withheld, we give up our power to decide what things mean. And we leave ourselves open to somebody else telling us what they mean. And that is where the cultishness around Pisces come from. If I am already groomed to approach everything with skepticism, right? If I'm groomed to approach everything with skepticism, I am ripe for someone to come in with the wildest conspiracy. And I'll be like, right, yes, I knew it. I knew it, all right? Okay, let's see here. Mia the Invader says, thank you so much for referring to the pandemic in the present tense. Absolutely. We ain't gaslighting over here. Hey, Marisa. Izzo says, that's how we get no-teps. Yes. You have to see all four mutable signs as like they're dependent upon each other. And everybody has their role. I just happen to be Jupiter. That's my role. Right? I've already decided what things mean. I've already decided that it is capitalism, whiteness, and patriarchy that's the problem. All the time. Sprinkle in some colonialism as well. Colonialism, imperialism, capitalism, whiteness, patriarchy. That's always why for me. Right? And it's important to have a solid and flexible set of convictions. Has to be flexible enough that when you have new experiences and encounter new information, that it can incorporate it, right? So if we go too far on the I already know what things mean, when we encounter life or death information that contradicts what we already believe, we can reject it off jump because we've already decided. So you can't go too far. But sometimes you need to go that far, right? Everything has its right place and time. And this is why mutable eclipses are about reorganizing our hierarchies of trust, both internally in our internal relationship and externally in terms of institutions and on a societal and global level. So the reorganization of trust on the heels of this Virgo eclipse that just passed is which news institutions are trustworthy. Who am I going to listen to give me the real deal? Who knows what they're talking about? Y'all, when I tell you, I be telling y'all be like, oh my God, Dayna, what's happening? And if you go to my page right now, the first pinned post is welcome to October 2023. This month's theme is clear: power and trust. Who is in your circle of trust and why are they in it? Not just the people you reveal your secrets and vulnerabilities to, but also the people you trust to give you accurate information about what is real or fake. Who are the people you trust to alert you to danger and protect you with their reliable knowledge and understanding of the stakes? Yo, this is just what I'm gonna tell y'all. I know that you all like to have things spelled out for you. You like to see your sign in bold, and then you like to see a paragraph written specifically for your sign. But I'm telling you that that is not the best use of astrology. I'm not saying it's not useful. I love to write horoscopes when the time is right, but I said exactly what is happening right now. I literally typed it out. What is this? 2 weeks ago, I said it. Now, I can't help how y'all are groomed to engage with astrology. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Right? And so here's a really good example of what we're dealing with, right? People are saying, no, there's no news institutions that can be trusted. Our news institutions, even I've been ignoring them. News institutions are the worst place to look for accurate news, not the Western media. And see, this is where you see how quickly we've gone into suspicion. How quickly, no, I can't trust them. You see how quickly we went all the way to the extreme. No news institutions, nothing in the West. News media, boo, boo, boo. Right? And that's just not true. You trust the news to tell you the weather. You probably trust the news to tell you the traffic. Now, if you turn on the news and let it play in the background all day, you're going to be brainwashed. But when you are seeking out information, I'm sure you read news, right? So in theory, in our minds, right? Right? I get it. And I've probably said the same thing, fuck Western media. But however, there are trustworthy journalists who happen to be a part of the Western news media apparatus, right? But that's too much work to try to sift through and find who is trustworthy and who is not trustworthy. And so it's much easier, right? It's much easier to dismiss it altogether. Marisa says, I can trust the news to tell me something happened, but I'm skeptical of the slant and spin. Yes, I feel like that's a more nuanced approach to it, right? The more nuanced approach to it is being able to say, who is telling me this and why are they telling me this? Now, let me give you some div for lib language here though. Jupiter, the planet that rules both Pisces and Sagittarius, the whole, goal of Jupiter is for us to form judgments accurately with as little information as possible, right? So we have our existing belief systems that allow us to do that, right? And we also have, hopefully, a measure of skepticism that says, ooh, what is not being said here? So we have the meaning that we come to with, and we also have the what is not being said here, right? It's an eclipse because you don't want to do it. It's an eclipse because otherwise you would not change your belief system. It's an eclipse because otherwise you would be continuing forward with blanket suspicion towards everyone and everything, including your own feelings. It's an eclipse because otherwise you would believe everything you read, right? It's an eclipse because it's a reorganization. You got comfortable. Every now and then, we got to revisit this and say, I don't know. Is your inner hierarchy of trust still good for you? Or are you carrying some baggage from childhood, your last relationship, some trauma? Is your inner hierarchy of trust acclimated to a world that no longer exists? Is our societal hierarchy of trust configured for a world that no longer exists. So I don't know how to say this. No lacidos, no lack hoes. I don't know. How does one come back from extreme skepticism? Right? So I think it's important to name why someone would be extremely skeptical. Someone would be extremely skeptical and suspicious because they have been gaslit. Likely in some kind of traumatic event. Someone goes to the extreme of skepticism because they're constantly perceiving things that they're getting no validation for from other people. They're constantly experiencing feelings that no one is helping them to name or correlate to external events. They go to the extreme of skepticism because their caregivers constantly withheld information from them. Right? So we get to that way because something happened to us. And so how do we come back from that? Probably some therapy, probably some dream work, probably, some kind of therapeutic experience that creates a safe container for you to reach out and touch feelings that it has been unsafe for you to touch. Pisces' whole job is to connect the dots. But in the too extreme, no one ever comes and says to you, you're right. No one ever comes and says to you, you've connected the dots. Yes, you're right. Ispertina says, don't think I'll ever trust the police. Yeah, that's another one. See, this is my thing. I understand the importance of hard stance convictions that say don't trust the police. Absolutely. But if I get into a car accident, I'm going to call the police. And I'm going to have my guard up. And I'm going to be weary and hope that they behave in a trustworthy manner. Because I probably need to get my car towed, or maybe I might need to go to the emergency room. And in the existing infrastructure of society, that's who I have to call. Right? Marisa says lack of validation can lead to a lack of self-trust. Absolutely. We all need someone to say, yes, you're right. Not, I don't know what you're talking about. Right? So coming back from the extreme of suspicion, what happened to you? That's the first question. Something happened to you. And from there, and as someone who has been through this process, and continues to be through this process, it is really learning to be with my feelings, even when no one else is here with me. Even when other people don't believe me. Right? Kinu says, with what you said about Pisces and trust, does finally feeling safe and relief point to you having found the truth? I would not say that for certain, because yeah, I wouldn't say that for certain. I think everybody has their own inner algorithm around that. Because often for me, when I have discerned something accurate that nobody else is perceiving, it makes me incredibly anxious. And for me, that rumbly old feeling is like, oh. right? It's Bertina says, question, is there a sidereal calendar for signs with dates like the other system, or we always have to refer to charts? Sometimes I want to see what someone is by the date. I mean, technically, yes. You're asking someone, you know, about sun sign. Technically, yes. I mean, you could Google dates. They're out there. It's just that even just like tropical, if you're close to one of the change dates, you have to see a chart. So, okay, no lack hose. Please, what can you give me what you call it, a pronunciation, how to say that? So if Pisces is this way, what does that say about Virgo? So Virgo takes everything at face value. Virgo really struggles with being misunderstood because Virgo has been cut off from this fact that other people can know things that Virgo has not said or expressed explicitly, and that things can be true that have not been expressed explicitly. So Virgo leans on the black and white. Virgo only sees the dots. Pisces only sees the space in between the dots. Does that make sense? Virgo and Pisces will clash because Pisces is always like, but what about A, B, and C? And Virgo's like, yo, we're on QRS right now. I don't even know how you got back there. Virgo is about what's explicit. Virgo is like the decontextualization of things. You take it out of its context, you can make it mean anything you want. 1 + 1 is 2. Okay, yeah, but why are we counting apples though? Like why are we counting apples? And Virgo's like, I don't know, we're counting apples. Take it at face value, don't question it. Pisces like, why? Okay, but why? Are you sure? Okay, but I don't know about that. I don't believe you because I heard that kind of thing. Karen A says, we have been trained to only believe, trust our feelings when outside validation does. Right, and I think that that's important. It's important to rely on a certain level of outside validation. But I think Pisces, particular to your point, has to understand that sometimes you can know and perceive things that other people don't know and perceive. And that's just for you. That's for you to have. Oh, no lactose? It was the H that was throwing me off. Shaska Kilo? Shaska Kilo? This is only for sidereal. Nothing I ever say is applicable to tropical, ever. I'm not a both and kind of girl when it comes to my zodiac. When it comes to my zodiac, this is divination for liberation sidereal astrology, which means if you go on Google and try to get Google to validate something that I've said, it's either someone repeating what I've said or it's coming straight from me. Estebanito, I'm dead because I'm a Pisces rising and Virgo moon, and I read dominoes in my divination practice. You mentioned connecting dots, and it's very me coded. Love that for you. Holding hands with sunflowers, cute name. I'm a Virgo rising. It's definitely been interesting these past few weeks. Yes, specifically for Virgo, the self-trust thing, it's an invitation for you to be open to how other people experience you and interpret your actions. And Virgo rising specifically has to balance this thing that you may not have had the intention for something to come across a certain way. You may not have had the intention for something to have a certain outcome. But if that's how the other person is experiencing it, you have to be open to that feedback, and you need to see it as another data point rather than as an attack on your person, and rather than just this blanket idea that you're being misunderstood. Sometimes you are being misunderstood, and sometimes people are misreading your intentions, but other times you you may not understand how your words or actions come across within the context of what's going on. This is why curiosity is so important for mutable signs. And curiosity could be why. And curiosity can be tell me more. Okay? If Virgo and Pisces class, how does Jupiter and Virgo show up? Correct me, but doesn't Trump have this placement? He does. So Virgo in Gemini, I'm sorry, Jupiter in Gemini or Virgo, right? So remember, Jupiter is how do I form a conclusion with as little information as possible? Pisces says, okay, let me figure out what's being withheld because that's important information or an important thing that can tell me what this means. And Sagittarius makes sense with as little information as possible because they have an existing belief system, set of convictions, religion, politics, whatever, right? And they bring that to it, and it allows them to quickly integrate new experiences and information, or to outright reject it if it does not fit into their existing belief system, right? So Jupiter in Virgo has an excess of information. It's kind of like, hey, we're over here, we're supposed to be applying what we already know, so that we can make sense of this new information, says Jupiter. And Virgo's like, yeah, no, I need some more information though, because I'm not sure. The example that I give for Jupiter in Virgo, it's very like real talk. It's very a particular flavor of how human neurotypes present. I don't want to call it neurodiverse because that's not quite accurate in terms of what that term means. I want to call it's a particular way that human neurotypes express, and it can very much be ADHD coded or autistic coded or ADHD coded. Virgo is always struggling to understand context and struggling to extrapolate what's implied by an individual instance, and also to accept that something is implied by an individual instance. The example I always give of Virgo, Virgo walks into a room and it's a bunch of wooden planks, horizontal, and metal beams that are vertical, and there are these rectangular blocks that are lined up on the horizontal wood things. That's how Virgo walks into a library, right? It's seeing the individual pieces. It's like, how many books qualify as a library? Let me check and count, because it's only a library if we have 125 books that are at least 30 pages, right? Rather than being able to take in the whole and say, oh, this is a library. Virgo can be very technical and meticulous like that, right? The meticulousness is like, no, it's only a library if we have 135 books. It's just like, all right, chill. How would black and white thinking express for the second house? I mean, it could just be, the second house is your money and your food. So it can definitely be a less intuitive relationship with food, a more rule-based, logic-based relationship with food. It can be, you don't have needs you don't have material needs if they aren't made explicit to you in some way. I don't know how that lands for you, but that's what I came up with. Holding hands with sunflowers. Oh my God, I needed this. Thank you. You're welcome. Hey, Cat Van. Yeah, this was a good one, Cat Van. Good to watch back. Hey, Tati Mama. Kinu, will this be replayable? Yes. S.A. Teray. Not this placement in my fourth house. I'll be fighting everyone because cleaning is done a certain way and should be common sense. I feel like Leo, Virgo, and Libra, I feel like Leo, Virgo, and Libra can be Leo, Virgo, and Libra can be, yes, I did speak about Virgo ascendant at length right before you came in, Mercury and Sun. So you'll have to watch back. As I'm trying to say, I think Leo, Virgo, and Libra are easy to get confused and conflated with each other, because all three of those signs have a certain amount of needing things to be a certain way. For Virgo, it's always going to be number based, right? It's always going to be technical. It's a technical type of meticulousness. Or like with grammar and syntax, a rigidity around the rules for language or the rules for a coding language, right? If you're coding, there is room for creativity, but coding language is rigid and meticulous, right? If then you put a colon in the wrong way and your whole thing is messed up, right? For Leo, it's more about, I feel like Leo is hard because Leo be moving the goalpost. Leo, you know, one day it's okay to point out something and to talk about something, and the next day Leo done bit your head off because, you know, they feel embarrassed or they feel too vulnerable and exposed. And why would you draw attention to this? It's just like, I can't keep up with your finickiness, Leo. No shade, but that's how Leos be. That's how Leos be. So for Leo, it's you know, you have the technical, math-based grammatical syntax precision of Virgo. And Leo, it's more of a finickiness around preserving their reputation and self-image. And it can be a kind of perfectionism in that way, in that the standard of how I need to be talked about is in this rigid container of how I feel about myself at any given moment. So for Leo, it's very much conditioned upon how they're feeling about themselves. If Leo is feeling like garbage, then they're going to be hypersensitive to criticism. And if Leo is feeling good about themselves, who gonna check me, boo? I'm that bitch, right? But you'll never know until you find out. For Libra, it's more perfectionism. Now, someone who has a lot of Libra, there is a certain way things need to look. There's a certain, you know, my Libra is very Capricorn, Saturn, right? Mercury all together. And so for me, when I'm reading someone's stuff or anything, I'm immediately like, why is this information organized this way? Like, this sentence should be here, right? So there's some of all of those things, but also like immediately when I'm looking at something, I want to see lines. I want to see things symmetrical. So like when you see my guide, like I do this myself because, right? I'm like, I need it to be right. Right? Right? These columns got to be even here. I can't have the text end all the way up here because that's ugly. Right? So all three of those signs have this same kind of finickiness to them. And if you have one, particularly if it's your sun, there is a likelihood that you'll have one of the others. So if you have Leo, there's a likelihood you'll have Virgo. If you have Virgo, there's a likelihood you could have Leo or Libra, right? Alligator Pie says, it's like each of these signs has something they hyper focus on. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the whole point of the sun is to hyper focus, right? So if we're talking about sun signs, I think that there's like and this is me because I'm working on the 2024 guide, fill in the blanks. And I've got a whole like method here of like code words that I use for each fill in the blank. And so for the sun, it's always focusing on, right? But to your point, Alligator Pie, I do, maybe hyper focus is the word, because you see what I'm doing? You see I'm doing it. I'm doing it, right? Where that word goes with something else in my brain. And so I can't put that here. I need another word here for hyper focus. I could say fixated, but in my studies of gathering information about charts and professions and people's work and vocation and stuff like that, the Leo, Virgo, Libra shows up a lot in directors and filmmakers. People with Virgo always have a technical aptitude in their field of choice, whatever it is. Whatever their field of choice is, there's a technical aptitude. If somebody has Virgo and they're into music, they know how to patch the synthesizers and set up the sound equipment and record and engineer. If someone's in music and they have Leo, they're going to be the image, right? The image is good. Look at Beyonce. You go on Renaissance tour, it's cutouts of her everywhere. The image, right? But she has Leo, Virgo, and Libra. So with Beyonce, you heavy on the technical precision. She knows how the lights work. She knows how the lenses work. She knows that if there's something wrong with how an image looks, there's some patch that's wrong, right? She's heavy on the Virgo. The technical aptitude of her singing voice, right? But also she's got Libra rising and moon. So it has to look right. She's got the trilogy of all three showing up together, almost in equal strength, right? Almost in equal strength. She's got Leo, Virgo, and Libra. So you can see how that shows up. And that is a hyper focus for her, right? So I guess that makes sense. I would like another word for my own peace and sanity, though. Mercurian Sun said, this is so rude, I feel attacked. I only tell truths. Key new design and arrangement, yes. Come on, film school. Absolutely, Exodia. Kinu says, this is affirming Leo Sun, Virgo Mercury, Libra rising, aspiring filmmaker. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Oh, the thing about Leo too is that Leo filmmakers, screenwriters, and directors, they're always in their stuff. There's another one. You see all my film folks here with Leo, Libra, and Virgo. I feel like I need to do one of those. Like, you know how like European or white, like old traditional astrologers will have like 50 aphorisms, or like in Vedic astrology have they have the yogas. It's a goal in my life to have something like that for divination for liberation, because the configurations be so consistent. I just can't deny it. Monzi's online. Is Libra also law and politics, following the law rules? You know, yes and no. Yes and no. Yes. But it depends on how the Libra is presenting and where. Because Libra is Venus, and Venus is the fundamental principle of Venus is, what does it look like? What is the statement the appearance is making, right? For Libra, the gift of strategy comes from, what does it look like I'm doing? How do I bring these things together in a way that they fit and harmonize with each other? Whether it's words, colors, pieces of fabric, sounds, or ideas, or principles, right? Thea Augustes, Leo sun, not a filmmaker, but writer. I surely pull from myself and my life. So writer signatures are Venus and Mercury together in the same sign, Sun and Mercury together in the same sign. Mercury and Saturn can be a writer too. Mercury and Saturn together. If there is another planet with these two planet pairs, it can skew it. So at the baseline, those two planets alone. Because Venus is the police, yes. Hey, Jamie Conjures. So, I don't know. I just wanted to come on here and talk about these eclipses. I wanted to talk about this other eclipse that we have coming up and a few of my ideas about what's about to happen. And this is actually a really good moment to do it because the Sun and Mercury have not yet hopped over. The Sun and Mercury have not hopped over into Libra, so I'm glad I'm saying this on the record before it happens. So where this thought process came from, I see y'all questions and I will come back to them. I fill in the beats and Patila Patera. I got you. So where my whole thought process was coming from is there was something going on. It was either in 2020, no, it wasn't in 2021. Maybe it was in 2018. It was either in 2018 and someone who pays attention to that Middle Eastern conflict between Israel and Palestine can let me know. But there was something going on. It might have been 2017, to be honest. Yeah, it might have been 2017. Anyways, whatever was going on, I was catching a pattern where transits through Leo and like heavy configurations between Leo and another fixed sign, maybe Aquarius or Taurus or Scorpio, was correlating with escalations of conflict or overt violence between Israel and Palestine. And I remember that this was happening at the same time as something was going on with Trump. And I was noticing the similarities between Netanyahu's chart and Trump's chart. And my brain was like filing away to pay attention to Leo transits during Israel and Palestinian escalations of conflict. So this brought me back to looking at Netanyahu's chart a couple days ago, last night. And I was noticing that his birthday is October 21st, this week, right in the midst of all of this wacky, chaotic astrology that's hitting his chart pretty square on. And I thought to myself, who is going to challenge him personally? The way his chart is set up, there is a challenge to him personally. And so my brain was like, okay, maybe it's the actual Israeli citizens and resistance groups in that country that have been building solidarity that will challenge him. Maybe, I don't know. But there's a piece that has not been brought to the fore yet because the Sun and Mercury have not yet come to Leo. So for context, the October 7th was, do I have a device here? So October 7th was pure cardinal and fixed. The moon in Cancer, although the moon in Cancer square Mars in Libra, Mars fresh into Libra, right on the North Node. I mean, Mars was still pretty close to the North Node. That was the first moon to trigger Mars's ingress into Libra. And then the other piece, was that Venus was opposing in opposition to Saturn. So those two pieces are the astrology of that moment for me. The eclipse trigger, the cardinal eclipse trigger, and you can see the Virgo new eclipse series that just started as like another facet of that situation, which was the disinformation, the propaganda, the outright lies that people have been running back and all of these things. So all of that to say, I need the moon and Mercury to go into Libra, which will be Tuesday and Wednesday. So that's October 17th and 18th. Yeah. So I want to see what's going to happen actually inside Israel between Netanyahu, who is already not a fave of those people. Particularly as we get closer to the end of this month. Fair game, soon as tomorrow, Wednesday, when Sun and Mercury cross over into Libra. But particularly at the end of the month, I just can't help but to be like, there's got to be some kind of big event. And I don't know if it's going to be big violence or big solidarity. Now, for what it's worth, the fill in the blank for the eclipse, the next one, the Aries eclipse that's on the 28th, exposing the consensus of power that controls. Now, we actually are already seeing that happen. The consensus of power is the UK, US, and Israel, big bullies, right? That's the consensus of power. Right? Now, in our own lives, you got to bring it down. What's the consensus of power in your life? We have our own inner hierarchy of power that shows up and is contended with in our interpersonal relationships. Is it going to be your physical body or your mama? Is it going to be your sense of personal power, force, and strength to control? Is it going to be, your capacity to create consensus and to be strategic in concealment of your aim so that you can get done what you want to do without getting in trouble? Or is it going to be your resourcefulness? So again, external reorganization of power, internal reorganization of power, external reorganization of control, internal reorganization of control, major cultural shift, internal personal shift on all levels. Okay. So let me answer these questions here. Phil in the Beat says, this is a bit of a sidebar, but if you have energy to respond, I'm curious on your thoughts about true sidereal or constellation star-based astrology. I don't have any opinions on it because I don't use it. And I don't use it because what I do works incredibly well, consistently. When I came to sidereal, just off of gut and curiosity, I immediately started with the Lahiri Ayanamsha, which is the calculation of the sidereal zodiac I use. And I've stuck with it because I've never had a problem with it. The accuracy continues to amaze me and astound me every single day, multiple times a day. Like I still be feeling like this should not be real. Like this should not work. Like, why is this so accurate? Why do I know this? It's crazy. So that's where it is. What does it mean when the sun and Mercury match? If Mercury is the only planet in the same sign as your sun, then it means that Mercury is a dominant planet in your birth chart. And it means all the things that Mercury represents are dominant features in your life. So I'm someone who has Sun and Mercury in the same sign, and there's no other planet there. There's also some other configurations that heighten this, but it's to the point that people think I have Virgo, and I don't. I don't have Virgo, but Mercury is that strong. I'm articulate. I love words so much. I am, my particular flavor, my neurotype flavor is the words thing. Like, I need to use the right word, and I need to eliminate all of the wrong words. And when I'm talking to someone else, I need to clarify the words. I need the words to be consistent, and I need to eliminate the words that don't word like I want them to word. But that's Mercury, right? So Sun and Mercury in the same sign. Anytime you have a single planet in the same sign as the sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, or Saturn, and that is the only planet in the same sign as the sun, that becomes and I said that wrong. I said dominant planet. I meant prominent. It's a prominently placed planet that gives that planet what it represents specifically inside your birth chart, and generally the meaning of that planet. It is prominent, meaning it has influence and power, which can make it seem like the signs that those planets rule are occupied. So in my case, for Mercury, it can make it seem like I have Gemini or Virgo when I don't. I'll save all the rest of the nuances for another time. Pratina, please go back and listen to the recording from your reading and stop acting like I ain't read your chart before. Thank you, Refugee, 2014, 2017. Yeah, I believe it was 2017 because it was coinciding with Leo eclipses, and we had a Leo eclipse in 2017. Oriel x Zoe Todd, Oriel x Zoe Todd. He refunded most of the government and social safety net, and he failed to prevent this. Yeah, I mean, defunded. Yeah, I think part of, I don't know if y'all saw my tweets. Twitter don't be showing y'all my tweets. That's why y'all should be in my podia, because I'm starting to create posts of my threads on Twitter so that you can see the stuff I tweet. And the only reason I tweet is because when my predictions come true, I like to have that public record. But anyways, this is the thing, Ori Alex. I can't with the words today. Ori Alex Zoe Todd. Okay, I got it now. I don't know where I got Ori Alex. This is the piece that hasn't been triggered fully yet for me, which is the abandonment of citizenry and the economic and social climate being so hot. The thread I did and the post that's up on my podia is, what does 1965 have to do with 2024? And in it, I'm talking about 1964 and 1965, when the U.S. troops were first sent over to the Vietnam resistance war against America. And I started calling it that because if you go to Vietnam, that's what they call it. Here we call it the Vietnam War. In Vietnam, they call it the Vietnam War resistance war against America. That's when U.S. troops first got sent over and the draft was started, and people were burning their draft cards. Anti-war movements and protests and teach-ins were all reaching a fever pitch between 1964 and 1965. And 2023 through 2024 is almost astrologically identical in a lot of ways to 1964 through 1965. Even though the Vietnam Resistance War against America didn't end until, 10 years later, we're in different times. So we see already the way our vocal anti-war rhetoric is putting pressure on the Biden administration and others to, at least on the surface, shift how they're talking about it as a matter of a political ploy. But I think that when Sun and Mercury move into Libra, we might have a different story going on. We'll see. Biden's going to Israel on Wednesday. Good luck to that man. I missed that. Wow. I'm good, y'all. I want to see what's going to happen. I'm so good. Different leg be hitting, boy. Hey, Dequavius. Patilla Partera. I have moon in the same as Sun and Mercury and Pisces. Yeah, so that's a little bit different when you have more than 2 planets. And that takes a lot of nuance to interpret. But for the sake of ease, once it gets to 3 planets, that's a stellium, and the planet that rules that sign becomes dominant. So I talk about this in, there's a workshop on my website called Calculating Your Prominent and Dominant Planets. If you want to know more about that, you should go do it. What does it mean if the moon and Mercury are the only planets in a sign? So moon and Mercury are a little bit of a special case because both of those planets tend to take on the qualities of what they are near, right? If you think of the material Mercury and how it functions, it's mirror, right? It's metallic and it's mirror, it reflects. Again, if we think about how the moon functions, it reflects the light of the sun, and that's literally the only time that we see it. So both Mercury and the moon have this reflective quality that kind of amplifies what they're near. The sign matters a whole lot when it comes to the moon and Mercury, and so that's all I can say about that for now. Neanderthal, that's too much for me. Okay, I can answer, what if Mercury and Mars are conjunct to the same degree and the sun is within 4 degrees of them in both the same sign? Do you have Virgo? Because that's a lot of numbers. What if there are 3 planets in the same sign? I just answered that. This is fascinating. Thank you. You're welcome. Wasn't there a lot of riots too in 2017? Yes. Thank you so much, Ori Alex, for that, because that's the information I was trying to look for. I was trying to find evidence for what I was intuitively perceiving and what I was seeing with the astrology. Ori Alex says, so Israel was basically on the verge of a civil war and he's hanging on to power by a thread. The people feel abandoned. Yeah, and I don't think this is going to help his case, right? Because, yeah, I don't think this is going to help his case. I mean, Israel really should just do what they have to do and release Palestinian prisoners and just call it a loss, right? Like, that's the way this should end. We know Israel is not about to give Palestinians back their land. Not right now. I'm holding on to hope that eventually that would happen. But right now, the best thing Israel can do is to give up them prisoners, right? And it's a miscalculation here for him. The Augustes, I wish I was saying that right. Not gonna lie, I pay extra attention to the reliable astrologers and card readers more and more as these world events escalate. And like, real talk, I'm not even gonna say no shade. The number of reliable astrologers and card readers are less and less. And I'm gonna just leave it there. Folks who jumped on the bandwagon of overnight astrologers over the past 3-4 years are out of their element. And those of us who are in our element, it should be very clear. And there are other reliable astrologers besides myself. Don't ask me for names because I don't know. But yeah. Ori Alice says he's showing no accountability and clearly isn't prioritizing the hostages, also not working in his favor. Yep. S.A. Touré says, I think us here in the U.S. feel abandoned too. How can your government say you can fund 2 wars, yet our basic rights are not met? Student loans about to restart. We should be rioting too. Yeah, I mean, that's what really ended the war. First of all, people were tired of their sons not coming home or coming home in a body bag. But by the time we got into the 70s, the economy was trash. I mean, the Vietnam Resistance War against America, U.S. involvement started in 1955. The U.S. was pouring money into that war for 20 years, right? And in 1955, the U.S. economy was still booming post-war, right? So there was all of this money. But by the time we got to 1970s, it was not that. And the same can kind of be said for the past 20 years, right? That the last budget surplus that we had was during Clinton. Bush 2 immediately ruined that. Like immediately we were like in a deficit, right? I mean, just ridiculous. And we have not caught up since. Iraq war, Afghanistan, Ukraine, and, you know, Israel has been going on forever. We've been funding their whole existence. So, Isbertina says, child, I'm forgiving myself for them loans. Elizabeth says, I was alive then, and I remember waiting in insane lines for food and gas. Yeah, man. So I really think the piece of the puzzle that has not been considered by the consensus of colonial and imperialist powers is resistance movements in their own countries, right? And again, this is where Div for Lib becomes really helpful, because now we can understand where we are in the timeline. We just had a new moon eclipse, which means the moon is waxing. We also have building oppositions between Mercury and Jupiter, Sun and Jupiter, and Mars and Jupiter. So we know that we have not reached the peak. This is not how it ends. We also know that the sun is not yet in place for the eclipse on October 28th. So we already know that the lights have been off in a particular area and they're about to come on. Matter of fact, what did I write for the sun in Libra? This is in the 2023 Sidereal Astrology Guide, y'all. Focusing on consolidating power. I just want to take this moment to honor my ancestors and my intuition, and to honor God and whoever has bestowed this gift on me. And I want to take this moment to show gratitude for this gift, and for the gratitude for the courage to speak even when no one else understood what I was talking about, to write the 6th version of this guide even when people still refuse to say my name and put respect on my name about my contributions, not only to astrology, but to the movement of liberation that is ongoing. Because you want to talk about having Pisces and like constantly being gaslit? How did I write this a year ago? A year ago, I said that when the sun entered Libra on October 17th, 2023, that we would be focusing on consolidating power. I said that when Mercury entered Libra on October 23rd, 2023, I said this in 2022, that we would see manipulating language to control. And that when we got to the end of October, at the full moon lunar eclipse in Aries on the 28th, 2023, that we will be exposing the consensus of power that controls. I said that when Mars entered Libra on October 3rd, we would be fighting for the power to change the consensus. Like, I really just be minding my business and writing my little guide. I'm working on the 2024 guide. I can't wait to reveal the color to y'all because she's pretty. But like, I want respect on my name. Yes, because I don't want to be forgotten. But this is so powerful. I literally can see what these people are doing, when they will do it, and how at least a year before they do it. And yet people still refuse to say my name. But I know that all things work together and that there's a reason, and what my gift is to be used for is what my gift is being used for. And if there's another way that it was supposed to be used, then it will. But it is upsetting to be erased in real time, and it's upsetting to see the power that is available to us towards our liberation, and for people to be so racist and so misogynist and so anti-Black that they refuse to say my name. They just ignore me. But you know, I'm over here using the divination for liberation in my parenting. I'm teaching folks in advanced study who want to learn about it. And also I'm really excited about advanced study this Wednesday for all of my advanced study folks who are here. Very excited about that. And my own life and healing and survival and liberation. Like, Dare for Lib is for me. If it's just for me, then so be it. My child is benefiting from it. You know, my household is benefiting from it. I'm safe, I'm surviving, and I'm managing in incredibly difficult circumstances. But mark my words, soon, folks who refuse to say my name and who have refused to say my name over the past 6-7 years are going to be foaming at the mouth, choking on my name, wanting to say they know me or knew me. And that's a prophecy for that ass. I appreciate you, S.A. Touré. And that's just how it goes. That's just how it goes. The people you don't want to pay dust to, the people you got hangups around. Oh, Dayna. Oh, Divination for Liberation. Oh, the People's Oracle. Oh, I remember when. Hey, the Hungry Medium. And that is on period. Congratulations on your engagement, Drea Sunshine. I mean, and I can speak this confidently, not because like I need to gas myself up. It's because this is the 6th version of the annual Sidereal astrology guide that I have written, that I have designed, that I have laid out. This is the 6th, and the 7th one is in process. You're welcome, Dre. This is the 6th version. So the evidence speaks for itself. I mean, if we could hop ahead. Oh, that's one of my favorite interviews. Afuerzafe. Yeah, if we could hop ahead to November. Excuse me, Saturn in Aquarius stationary direct on the 4th. Imagining myself free. I mean, and the reason why I love that one so much is because I've been hearing a lot of people talking about how important it is to hold space for hope regarding the freedom of the Palestinian people. Because if they have been able to hold on to hope, if they have been able to imagine themselves free for, 60 plus years, 50 years, however, if they have been able to hold on to the vision of freedom that they have not lived to see, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So I just be having these moments where like I'm almost always aware of the erasure, especially as the language of divination for liberation gets absorbed into broader astrological vernacular. But there are certain times where I see very specific divination for liberation, and people are speaking about it as if it's like some long existing truth that everybody knows. It's like, no, I said that. I said that. It's dawning on you because I said it. And the first time I said it, nobody heard me. But now, so it's really seeing my impact, but it not being attributed to me. Hello, the Fine Art Revolution. Welcome. I'm about to get off here shortly because I probably need to eat something. I think I'm gonna just have some tuna and crackers. No, that's true. That's true, Allison. They pretended not to hear me. And it's so mean-spirited and but like, even in this situation, Div for Lib keeps me sane because I understand what's happening. And I understand the power dynamics that are at play, and I understand the time, and I understand the season. And that right there, my friends, is the gift of strategy for my Sidereal Libra, Mars, Saturn. A lot of fortune in midheaven. Hey, Myra. Right? So I can bide my time and continue my work. I was just telling my spiritual director today, about this being my monastic phase, because it really is. It really, really is. Yeah, man. So I'm really going to try to go live more often while y'all are still here. If you're in the Podia community, I opened up registration for the October Div for Lib birthday club. So the Div for Lib birthday club is something that I started last month, and it's a monthly gathering. I was going to do 8 people, but I did 5 last month, and I realized that's enough. So I made it 6. So it's for 6 people, the birthday club. It's particularly if you can't afford a solar return reading with me, the birthday club is a way for you to get a birthday reading at a lower price. Essay Teray, Dayna, we need to talk about the nodes about to enter Virgo Pisces, pretty please. So the entirety of the first part of this live, where I'm talking about eclipses in Virgo and Pisces, mutable sign eclipses, discernment and reorganizing hierarchies of trust internally and externally, that was about the nodes. We can have a separate conversation about the nodes in a birth chart, but in terms of in real time, the function of the nodes is to mark where the eclipses are occurring. So when you heard me talking about Virgo and Pisces and major cultural shifts and reorganizations of hierarchies of trust internally and externally, that was all about the nodes. I didn't say it that way, but when the nodes shift, the eclipses shift. And so is it significant to mark the moment that the nodes shift? I can't say that there is any evidence for that unless there is a planet really close to the nodes when they shift. And that actually might happen. That actually might happen this time. Because Venus enters Virgo on November 2nd. So it might be that, I just don't know what day the nodes enter Virgo. Let me see. Let's see. Yeah, so it's not till the end of November. Yeah. So yeah, the only time I would probably pay close attention to the node, like the moment the nodes change signs, is if there was a planet caught up with that. And I don't think that's the case this time. So for all intents and purposes, the how do I want to call it? The moment of significance around the changing signs of the nodes has already occurred. And the moment of significance is that there was a new moon within 13 degrees of the south node in Libra in Virgo, which made it an eclipse. So there are other systems of astrology that might interpret nodes a certain way. I've been wanting to bring back like study salons and stuff, but to do it a little differently. And I do want to talk about the nodes in your birth chart, but I feel like it's a little high level. I feel like it's a little high level for the average student of astrology. And if you aren't well versed in my system, it might go over your head. So I do want to talk about the nodes, but I think where I'm at with teaching is that join my advanced study group, which meets every third Wednesday of the month. So advanced study is going to be meeting this Wednesday. There's an archive of all of the previous lessons, video and slides in my Podia community in the advanced study topic. But in terms of like I'm trying to better gauge what people have the existing knowledge to learn. And I feel like the nodes are a little bit higher level. Yeah, you just need to have some knowledge, and it would take me a minute to teach you what you need to know so that I could teach you about the nodes, if that makes sense. Okay, so let me go back to what I was saying though. October birthday club is on the day of this eclipse. Don't ask me. It's the last Saturday of the month, and I'm just hoping all hell doesn't break loose so that we can do this birthday club. Is that right? Ooh, did I? Oh yes, it's something else. Okay, something else I'm doing. Don't leave because you want to hear this. Don't leave. I'm doing something new. Okay? And if you're on this live, hey Zoe, if you're on this live, then I know you definitely want to hear this right now. So don't leave. If you coming in, don't leave. I see y'all leaving, y'all gonna miss out. I'm gonna share it on my profile anyway. But Sunday, this coming Sunday, oh yes, Jenna, you're gonna love it. This coming Sunday, October 22nd, I am doing something new, and it's called walk-ins only. So that means I am setting up a virtual studio where I will make myself available for people to walk in virtually and get their reading. So you know how like people be like having a little storefront and they got the sign that says tarot readings or whatever come inside. So that's what I'm setting up, but virtually. So it's called Divination for Liberation Walk-ins Only. And it will be, yes, Elizabeth, I'm going to actually email you. So you don't have to come and take one of those spots. I'm going to email you. So it's called Divination for Liberation Walk-ins Only. Listen, let's just be real, okay? Times is hard, and y'all need this Divination for Liberation, so I keep trying to figure out ways to give it to you that doesn't burn me out. So from 12 to 5:30, I'll probably have a little break in there, because I got to feed myself and my child. But from 12 to 5:30, I will have Divination for Liberation Walk-ins Only on Sunday. I will be sharing the flyer for that with information tomorrow, and instructions on how to participate in walk-ins only. And it's just for tarot, not for astrology, just for tarot, okay? You'll be able to pick a topic, because these are meant to be short. These aren't meant to be long therapy counseling sessions. So you'll pick a topic: love, money, general, health, something like that. Maybe family will be another topic. I don't know. Well, that will fall under love. So love, general, love, money, health, right? Those 4 topics. And under money would fall job and career. Under love would be romantic love, family, relationships. Under general is cold. It's like whatever comes up in the reading. Rad Nigerian says, when I work this Sunday, will you have alternative days? Let's see how this works. I got to try it out first and see how it works. And then I will decide if it's workable or if it needs to be tweaked. So ideally, it's workable, might need a little tweak, and I'll do it another day as well. In my mind, I'd like it to be something that I do every so often, maybe one Sunday a month, or maybe, I don't know. I don't know yet how frequent or infrequent it will be. But that's the goal. So if you can't come Sunday, I'm really sorry, but you know, I'm one person and that's the date and time that I have free to do it. But yeah, so Divination for Liberation walk-ins only. Set your little coin. And I think basically what I'm going to do is create time slots that are like 15 minutes. And yeah, create time slots that are 15 minutes that you can sign up for on Sunday. I think that's what I want to do. I think that's the best way to do it. Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. Yeah. Thanks, Elizabeth. So yeah. It's going to be between $25 and $35. Not exactly sure yet, but it won't be expensive. Rad Nigerian says, I think this might also be super cool on TikTok, so you can potentially get paid for being live anyway. Yeah, you know, I like the idea of TikTok live, but they really want you to be on that app, and I just don't be posting on TikTok. Oh, it's going to be on Zoom, y'all. It's not going to be on Instagram. They're not going to be live. It's one-on-one. It's not going to be on Instagram. Thanks, Zoe. Yeah, it's not going to be on Instagram. It's going to be on Zoom. And it's private. So coming to my virtual studio and like remember the setup? It's like like y'all be walking and you see the little storefront tarot readings come in with the little neon sign. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. And yeah, so it'll be like 15-minute slots, like somewhere between $25 and $30 from 12 to 5:30. And you'll be able to sign up for your slot and pick a topic. And I have it pick a topic rather than a question, because if you want a question, you can book the longer reading, and it's easier to not go over if we do it that way. Because when I do longer one-on-one readings with clients with tarot, we spend a good 5 to 10 minutes sorting through the issue so that we can know what the question is or how we want to interpret the cards. What's the context that we're reading the cards in? And we won't spend all that time doing that. You'll just have to pick a topic, and you can let me know what the topic is when you sign up for your slot on Sunday. Okay, so tell your friends. I'm going to share a graphic soon, and you'll be able to share it and know all of the details. Other than that, we got the birthday club. If you want a one-on-one reading, I think there are still some Eclipse special openings on my website. Y'all sleeping on them? Longer reading for a lower price than I normally offer, focused on the eclipses. So if you've been looking to get a reading from me, you should go to my website. And I'm also wanting to create something that's a little bit easier to navigate. I have a vision. I just need the time to execute it. And that's going to be my cue to leave. You all have a really good night. Bye.